they would consider if like I remember I have a friend. We were watching. Like I was so excited for the Obi-Wan trailer, right?
Uh-huh.
And I sent it to him. It's like, oh my god, this is so epic. And he goes on and tells me like, I'm not sure, man. I see a lot of women there. I see a black character there. I'm like, what?
Wow.
What?
Okay.
And it's
Like,
like, it's like, wow.
not gonna lie to you. Not gonna lie to you. I really like very well written black villains. Like if you watch the first half of Luke Cage season 1
Oh
is
my god, yes,
amazing because
yes.
Cottonmouth is just
It's such a good villain.
he's
Cottonmouth is such a good
such a
villain.
good villain, and it's like within that context, that small context, he's a small time villain compared to all these other people, but he was so it just so and like seeing her on the screen, I you know I'll probably cut I'm gonna probably cut this out, um, but seeing her on the screen for that, you're like, oh shit, like that's that's kind of scary.
Yeah, yeah,
Even if you watch the Witcher, right? And Frangilla,
yeah.
I like I don't. I like her. What they're doing with. I don't like her character. Her character sucks, right? Like,
Yeah,
but
she's a good villain. She's a good villain.
yeah, exactly. But I like the fact that she's there. I like the fact that she can be
So
vulnerable, but she's
so that's
also a villain. You
so
know?
by definition. Okay, so Witcher is not a woke series,
No,
but I would tell you this that like some people would consider it woke because
because of her
Angela.
presence. Her presence,
Exactly.
but it doesn't. They're not speaking to any kind of racial prejudice or discrimination in that. There is some towards women in that show, but there's no
Yeah,
racial prejudice or discrimination in that. So
yeah.
yes, it's woke in the sense that women are present and POC women are present, like Yennefer being brown and not white is disturbing to some people.
Is it like
To some
I
people,
found the character I find the character of Jennifer like such a good choice. I really like Yennefer. Like I so like I had since I played Witcher 3, I already had a picture of what Yennefer should look like, or like act, and I think that she still captures it because Yennefer is very much a very arrogant a person, but
yeah,
underneath all that, there's a certain sweetness about her that Geralt likes, and like and I saw that in her, and I thought the actors that played it like did it perfectly.
she does a really good job.
Yeah,
But yeah,
I
um, we're
I
gonna
think it's I think it's the fact that some of these shows, like one of the arguments that the Star Wars does is, I know that you're trying to wrap up, and like we can always edit this to
yeah,
make
yeah. I
it
think
short.
I'm gonna edit this part out. Yeah,
Yeah, like one of the things that I do see is that I think people are not used to change. So like in Star Wars, like one of my friend will always say like you didn't see a whole woman or a person of color throughout the whole original movies, the first three movies,
except
and
for Lando.
except for Lando, right?
Yep,
He's the
except for
one
Lando.
he's the one black guy in the
You
galaxy.
cannot forget Lando.
Right. He's a one black character in the whole series. And all of a sudden, like with these new ones, like you start seeing more and more. And like you saw it in the prequel, like you started seeing more characters of color coming in, and then finally in like the sequel trilogy, like full blast female lead character, like the whole group that Ray carries. Like so, we have a black character, we have an Hispanic character.
Yeah,
Oscar Isaac is Hispanic, you know.
yeah,
Um, and in a complete change, they don't like that. They don't like that complete change in uh, in culture and people because and the same can be argued with The Witcher, right? So The Witcher, it it like this the story is was made by people in Europe and like in the setting that they wrote it. So like the very much fantasy, but still grounded in European culture where there's not a lot of minorities. There's just a
Yes.
bunch of white people,
And
right?
the argument that you hear is that black people or Muslims or whoever weren't around in that area. But you got to remember something. People are this like genetically intelligence, like curiosity, all that stuff are exactly the same then as they are now. We just have more knowledge now that we got from them, right? So if you go and you look, there are actually Muslim temples in like Norway. There there were black people prior to, you know, modern times that were in Europe, that were in Northern Europe, not at any significant point, you know, part of the population or anything like that. But then, you know, you also got to kind of hop into this other boat is that we're talking about fantasy, right? And
And that's the thing.
we're
That's
talking
that.
about these things aren't real. Like, yes, it's based on, you know, this culture's folklore, on this culture's you know, myths and stuff like that.
Did
But
you notice? So like in Lord of the Rings, something that I found very
yeah,
curious. I think you're gonna you put this out. Like in the movies, um, everybody's white, right?
yeah,
But like, but the people in the elephant were brown.
yeah,
You
exactly. Like,
you
but
remember that?
and you know, like it's a common thing. Like you look through a lot of those stories and a lot of those great things that we like we absolutely love growing up. There's nobody that looks like us on those screens. There's nobody in those stories that look like us or would sound like us or be or we would be familiar with if we were to be transported into that world until modern times, until the modern era.
And like
So
some people, I hate the argument that people make that it shouldn't matter. Like a person like Captain America, like it shouldn't matter like for somebody that whether or not he looks like me or not. And
you
like
know,
I've heard Hispanics make that argument. Like it's like I still like Captain America even if he doesn't look like me. I still look up to him even if it doesn't look like me. I
so
still look up to Superman.
that story actually hits a lot closer to home for me than I think I first realized, right? Like
So
that's like I don't want to get too much into, you know, that, you know, past jobs, stuff like that. But I'm just saying that that story hits close to home for me. You get what I'm saying? Because I'm
yeah.
kind of like I feel like no, I'm not freaking Sam Wilson flying around with falcon wings and shit. But but you know, I feel like I relate very closely to that story.
Yeah. So it, I do say though, like I I I used to think like that too, like it shouldn't matter. And then I saw Black Panther, and I saw the impact that Black Panther was having on black kids, especially like we were in Atlanta by that, or we were in Fort Benning still in that time frame. And I remember like people like schools would have buses
Oh yeah.
drive to movie theaters to see Black Panther because that's how big of an influence Black Panther
So
was having on these kids.
it's not just for black kids, right? So this is super important, right? Um, it's not just for black kids to find that movie great and to look up to T'Challa and like this fictional world where black people are not struggling and aren't not being oppressed, right? It's also important for other kids, for white kids, for Hispanic kids, for everybody to kind of see this, right? To see that everyone, like everyone, is worth something, right? To be looked up to. Like there are heroes. Like just because someone's black doesn't mean they can't be a hero. Just because someone is Indian or whatever, they can't be a hero. That their story isn't worth being told. So you know, seeing a little white kid dress up as Black Panther for Halloween warms my heart because he found a hero, and it doesn't matter what color that hero is.
Yes, yes, I
You get what I'm
agree with
saying?
you.
Like
That's
growing up, we looked up to Luke Skywalker or fucking, Spider-Man, and we were able to relate to those characters. And the question then becomes is, well, why can't you guys relate to any of the characters that look different from you? Like, why is that so hard? Because we've been doing it our whole life. And then for a character to come up that doesn't look like
Ah,
you and you're giving such a hard
that is
time.
a very good point. Very good. And I'm glad that you mentioned that. I didn't see it like that.
It's frustrating to see because again, we're sitting here, we're watching the same shows. Like you might like, you hear, oh well, well you're the racist because, well no man, I enjoy the same things you do. It's just I'm kind of tired of hearing you complain every single time there isn't a white guy on the screen.
Yeah, yeah. I can see that. I can see that.